Better late than never. I did watch the film when it came out, like that week, that night, or that week. But yeah, it's months later because I had to get a new PC, and that's why I hadn't been doing videos consistent. One of the reasons during the pandemic. But yeah, let me do my review of Malcolm and Marie and give you my thoughts on it. Did I like it? Did I not? Let's talk about it. Malcolm and Marie. So let's get to it. So Malcolm and Marie, it came out. This is a pandemic movie. For starters, I enjoyed the film despite a lot of the criticisms. I've seen a lot of women saying the same thing, that the movie was toxic and whatnot. I don't think it was at all. I think they had a toxic moment in their relationship, but I enjoyed the film a lot. Now, as you heard that intro coming in, that beat, I should put it there. It's William Bell, put that woman first. Ironically, growing up, you know, we heard the Jaheim version of it, put that woman first. But like when we listen to the lyrics and the stuff he's saying, like you finding numbers in a purse and other things, and like, huh? Like that's not what it's trying to put it first, trying to cancel that chick and buy another one. But that song was not new. That is another remake, another song that shows us that, you know, there's nothing really new in the sun, and everything is just a remake, and we keep copying off one of the best eras and times in movies, which was 60s and 70s music, Motown, all those songs. They created hip hop and damn near all the R&B today. So gotta give them credit where credit is due. But like that song, I found out was not an original movie, neither a song. This is not his original movie. The original movie is Who's Afraid of Virginia Woolf, and the movie's similar setting wise, and there's a scene they had a little bit more different setup, but typical couple going through their problems, hatching it out in a situation, talking shit to each other, showing each other that they ish that stink. But yeah, that was the original film. The whole film is actually on YouTube to watch for free. I'll probably link it in the description. But yeah, this movie was not, you know, something new. It had something that they took from to create this film. But with that being said, absolutely, I did enjoy the film. How should we start this? Basically, in my opinion, the movie was about a woman wanting credit for shit she had nothing to do with. And I watched another young lady, I forgot her name, something Body. She had did a review of the movie, and she was talking about Zendaya's character. Marie should have like legally set something up to where she can get credited for the film and this and that, blah blah blah. And I'm like, whoa. And that made me think about the question is, how much of your success is someone else entitled to? And that's basically the gist of the movie. She was being a little cunt the whole film because this is his highest moment of his career, the highest point of his life, and he's up on the stage and he's thanking people for his award or something for the film, and he forgot to say her name. He forgot to thank her for shit he did, the heavy lifting and hard work. And obviously throughout the film you understand that he does say she was necessary to help in the film, but you know, you're so vain you thought this song was about you. The entire character of the main character of the film was not just about her. It was about a bunch of people, a myriad of people in his family, in his life. And there's a scene in the bathroom where he gets in her ass and he shows her like, no, this was about my mom, or this is about when my dad died. This is one of my other ex-girlfriends. This is another one of my ex-girlfriends. Like, this whole film was not about you. Yes, you help. Yes, you contribute. Yes, some of the elements were about you, but no, it all was not about you. And he broke that down. And now, I think a lot of the criticism from a lot of women saying it was toxic and this and that, I think that's solely because women are not used to men getting in their ass in these type of romantic comedies or films or things of that nature. We're used to men being screw-ups, mess-ups, and the whole movie he's trying to win his girl back or whatever. When was the last time you seen a comedy, a romantic comedy or a film where the chick screwed up bad? I'm not saying they don't exist. I've seen some myself, but I'm saying that's not the norm. That's like less than 10% of the films where the woman screwed up, she messed up, and she's trying to go back and get make it right throughout the entire movie. And 9 times out of 10, if you do see that, the dude is a complete simp and an idiot, and he should have moved on when she messed up. So I think women are not used to that. They're not used to having, you know, things said that need to be said. Both of them were pointing out their ish does stink in the film. Both of them got in each other's ass and called them out. Some people say that this relationship is toxic. I don't look at it that way. I look at they had a toxic moment. You can tell this is a situation where like this is not something that happens every day. Now, if this was an everyday thing, every week thing, then yeah, that's too much, and it's probably should go separate ways. But this is one of those situations where you get in the building, you lock it down, and y'all both getting everything out, and this is going to determine if y'all go further in your relationship or not. I said that if you watch the Joe Budden podcast, the one where Rory and Maul came back for that one episode before they bounced, I said after watching that one episode, like, yo, this is not going to work. Like, it didn't seem like there was any clarity, any common ground. It just felt like Joe was treating him like one of his ex-girls, and he was just gaslighting him, and you know what I mean? For lack of a better word. And I said to myself, like, there's no way this can continue, and shortly after that, they parted ways. They didn't have another episode after that. Or they did, they had one more. They had that episode where they talked about it, and they had one more. I didn't even watch that one after they had that, but that was it. And I'm saying, like, that's what it felt like watching that first episode when they came back, though. It's like they getting off their chest and they saying how they really feel. And after that, it did not work out. Their relationship could not go back. And as men, and what we saw on that podcast, I said to myself, like, there's no way they can go back. But in a relationship, if y'all can have that moment and everybody get everything off their chest and say how they really feel and then still make it, then y'all survive anything, though. If y'all can get through that. And I think, again, the criticism that I saw from a lot of women was like, you know, they didn't like seeing that. They didn't like seeing her get it back because of her storyline. Because I read a comment from him saying, because he talked about her addiction, this and that. He called him all types of narcissists and assholes and everything. But because he, you know, women will provoke you and get mad when it works. Ironically, Joe Budden. She was pushing his buttons just as well as he was pushing hers, and he clapped back. He let it be known. There's a scene in the movie where he taps into his daddy's energy. He goes, my nigga. He goes in on some training day stuff, and I think that for a lot of women, it's hard for them to see that though, because they're used to women not having to be told. You're used to men just deferring and letting them get away with a bunch of bull stuff. And those days are over in relationships. And that would be cool if that was a new turn in film where we saw that more, instead of seeing, again, the dude always the one that's screwing up. And like, even with Issa Rae and Lawrence, like, there are women who are still like, but he forgot her birthday to justify the cheating in that situation, right? Like, even when it is clear cut, like, yeah, he did things that were wrong, she did things that were wrong, there's no justification for cheating, but women still in their mind and themselves saw like, yeah, but they wasn't really together, but then why didn't they break up? And then she could have did whatever she wanted to do, and it wouldn't be a debate. But yeah, I think that women aren't used to that, and they didn't like that part of the film. They didn't like that he got back and gave her back the same energy in what she gave him. Again, they're not used to seeing that type of stuff in film. They're used to seeing the man defer and just letting her get away with a bunch of stuff. Try to do this without the fan on. It ain't happening. Would I have chosen? Oh yeah, before I get into that, I would say, like, for me, this was Denzel's son's film, Washington. I was calling him Denzel's son up until this point, but I was like, yeah, this is going to determine if I put some respect on his name and actually separate him from his dad and call him who he really is and call his name. And I think this film did that. I watched Tenet. That movie was ass. You can watch it 5 times in a row and it still doesn't make any damn sense. I wasn't feeling that. The character he played, I did not really watch I'm not fuck Spike Lee, but for back a little words, like, I'm not really into that character. Like, when you become too much of a nigger crap, I don't like to support your work anymore. But I didn't really watch BlacKkKlansman, so I don't know what he delivered in that. So no. The character he played on Ballers with the show football player, that's a goofy, silly receiver, but prima donna character. He plays it off, but that's not really showing off your chops. I think he did show off his chops in this film. I think he did express himself. Now, one of the criticisms was because there was a lot of yelling, but it's a dialogue film, so the movie is based off of that. So you have to be extra in your dialogue and your delivery, and I think they both did well in that. You have to have something in this type of film to carry it, because there's no other characters, there's no scenes changing from venue to venue. They were at some rich place house. This is like after, like, quote unquote, a Grammy party, and you're up in at some mountains in California that could get robbed, like they always get robbed up there, but nobody's there, so they're just using it. And so the dialogue and their chemistry are what's going to carry the entire film. And despite me not would have chosen her to do the film, I think they did a good job. Do I know somebody who would have fit this role better than her? No, but for me, Zendaya looks like she's 12. And then the character that she is playing, I don't really like those characters. Like, she has a show, Ethereum or whatever. I don't know how to say it, but it's on HBO, where she's like a 13-year-old crackhead, addicted, little spoiled little brat. I watched like 10 minutes of that, and I just stopped watching. I couldn't get into it. Not my type of show. It's like 13 with a bunch of little fight it out, wild out white girls who are addicted to drugs and doing all types of things they shouldn't be doing. That's not my type of film, but it seems like she's starting to get into that character, get into that bag. And I kind of think, though, like when you think about some of the women who got like Halle Berry and stuff like that, you don't get Oscars and get noticed for when you are beautiful and stunning and also, bro, you get the Oscars and you get the awards and accolades when you get ugly. And I think that might be what she's trying to go for. She's trying to get ugly. I'm talking about physically, but I'm talking about in character, to get those type of awards and not be seen in this light. And she also could be on that, you know, like a lot of these Disney stars and a lot of these people who grew up in these family shows, they want to get away from that image. The men do the same thing. You see Ryan Gosling with The Notebook. He's in a lot of crazy, wild characters since then to get away from that character. I think she's doing the same thing, but early on. Like, so I guess she's going to be more versatile, where she can do a, you know, Disney or Spider-Man movie, film, and she could be a junkie, crackhead, whore. But anyways, that's kind of what she's playing in this film too. Or it doesn't show it, but that's what she was. The age gap. That was one of the criticisms I did see in the film, is that people didn't like that. I think that's just on some feminist nonsense. The age gap between them two, for me, seems like it's typical Hollywood stuff. Some women said that in the film, or they were saying like, oh, that's typically who he would be with, the type of character he is. He's a director in Hollywood or whatever. He's mediocre and he's trying to come up. But ironically, when they were having a debate and argument, she said the women that he was dating around her, or after they got together and broke up and they dated other people, blah, 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 they didn't look like her either. So it's funny how some women try to flip it to like, oh, he's typical self-hate black man. He would date a woman that looks like her, but the women that he was dating in the character did not look like her. So that's interesting. But I don't know. I just don't see Zendaya as a sex symbol. She's not an unattractive woman, but the chick is skin and bones. And again, I think it fit for the character of the film and who he is. Again, the age gap doesn't bother me. Like, to me, that's standard. Despite the people who are crying on YouTube about men who can't beat them off with a stick, there's men who've done several videos about the age gap between black men and how is this maternal thing. Like, no, it's not. This is standard. This is normal. This is nothing new. We're not going to act like a bunch of thirsty 40-year-old women was in Ronald Isley's DMs, Kendra No Edges G, after, you know, watching him do his versus battle. Like, dude's like damn near 80 and she's 40-something in that man DM acting like he ain't already got a bad looking, by a bad I mean attractive looking 40-year-old woman. But yeah, I did not like her as casted, because physically it ain't my thing. But I don't know who would have done better at that film, at that character. There was a scene in the movie too that I think was weird to me, that was a criticism from a lot of black people, particularly black women, was a scene where she made the mac and cheese. I think there's context to this. That's what they're saying. Oh, you can tell there's white writers in this film and it's not a blackity person when it did that. I'm going to be honest, 9 times out of 10, if I eat macaroni and cheese, it's not baked during the week. And I'm not eating it at all right now because I'm doing keto, so low carb life. But if I'm going to make mac and cheese 9 out of the 10 times, it's going to be like she made it. Not with the little cheap fake stuff. I'm going to use real cheese and all that, but it's going to be on top of the stove. I'm not going to throw it in the oven and bake it. It's hot as shit outside right now. All right? So, but here's my thing. Black women, and that's what I'm saying, them, because they're usually the ones who are making this criticism. If you look at Twitter on this film, and it's that was a heavy criticism on quote unquote black Twitter. And I'm like, well, maybe if we didn't one drop rule so much, I'm just saying, maybe if you saw her as what she actually is as a biracial woman and not trying to blackety black her to death, maybe that's a possibility, being that she got one white parent, that the mac and cheese that she made in 2 seconds at a cabin in the middle of California, probably in the middle of nowhere, that probably been in the cabinet forever, that they didn't probably go grocery shopping, it would make sense that that's something that made. She not about to go, oh, sister girl. I'm going to play a clip, too, about this at the end of this. That's funny as hell to counter that thought, too. It's funny. It's over for you, itches. Nah. But I'm gonna play it at the end of this film just to contrast this, because they want her to go in the kitchen and make some soul food, make some baked mac and cheese in the middle of this debate / no scenes and one setting film. And that was just what's going to happen. But if you were to let go of the one drop rule that most black people have and stop looking at Meghan Markle as your black girl magic and view her as biracial and having complexities and differences, and maybe she had a white mama that made on top of the stove mac and cheese, and the black dudes who dating her gonna eat it, right? I would have ate it. Just throw some black pepper in there, some real cheese, I'm good. That's just me though, probably. But that was funny because that was one of the criticisms that people had, like white people made the movie. But and one thing Zendaya did say on the side note was that because it was a pandemic film, she made sure that she had black people, I'm assuming she didn't say POC, who were like in the dressing room and doing hair and doing makeup. She also said that the way the movie was structured, because they sold the film to Netflix, and the way the movie was structured was that everybody got a little bread, everybody got a piece of it. So it wasn't just like you didn't get paid for doing hair and makeup and all that, and that was it. You also got a percentage of how well the movie did as well. So that's also cool with the way the film was structured financially. So that's a good thing for people doing business with Netflix. And the fact that she looked out and made sure her cast and the people behind the scenes got their due as well. But back to the film. Back to the whole point of the movie, though. My thoughts of her, basically being mad she didn't get credit for what she was doing. Shout out to Pink Elephant. He made this point years ago. Pink Elephant, one of those OG YouTubers that was here before Tommy, who thinks he invented everything in black YouTube spaces. But he made a video that was well in depth about how like women are overcredited for things they didn't necessarily have anything to do with. And I think that's part of why women had an issue with this film. A lot of women felt like he should have thanked her, right? Because that was the argument base starts off. They get back from the party, from the award show, and he's ranting and raving and being the narcissist that he is, and she's like, yo, but you didn't thank me. And he's like, you wasn't with me when I was shooting the gym. Now, technically she was, but again, he lets her know in that one scene, yo, he get his Denzel bag, like, nah, this was that, this was my mom, this was my ex, this was her, this was not you. Yes, you helped, yes, you being on my side made me a better man, but it's beyond you, it's bigger than you. And if we look at like how even in sports, when like an athlete wins an award, or he about to sign that contract to get with a new team, we typically defer to the mom, even if she didn't even want him to play. If you go to one game, we typically defer to her and give her credit, make her feel good about some shit when it ain't got nothing to do with her, right? We're used to doing that. That's the benevolency of that's the benevolent sexism and patriarchy. And I guess women are not used to not seeing that. They're used to getting credit for shit they had nothing to do with, right? I remember the one football player that his mom wilded out on his pro day, well, his day that he picked his college that he wanted to go to from high school. She did it twice to both sons, but a lot of people, when I did my video on that years ago, was like, where the daddy at? Where the daddy at? His daddy in his life. And his dad was actually there. He just wasn't on film because he knew it wasn't his day. It wasn't his time. It was for his son to shine. And he was out of the camera. The stepmom, or who his dad was with at that time, she was in the folds with his Becky and his brother and the rest of his family. But the actual biological father, who's the one that told him, yo, son, you pick the school you want to go to. Don't let your mom make the decision for you because you're going to regret it if you make her make that choice. Nonetheless, she did that to him, and she did it to her other son as well. People don't even realize she did it to both sons. Ironically, both of them wanted to get the hell away from her and not go to school that she wanted them to go to. Whew. Think about that. But again, women want to give her all the credit for the success of them making it to lead this and that. Ignore the father that was actually there, right? Because in that situation, New Orleans happened. Just to go over real quick, New Orleans happened. A lot of kids left the school to go to California, blah, blah, blah. He went to go stay with his dad for a weekend. He saw the school and like, oh, look at the lights. Boom. I want to go here. And that started his trajectory to go live with his dad so he could play in a better state, a better city that took football more seriously, whatever. But the point is, though, is like when you see these situations with athletes, we tend to overcorrect and give women credit for that, which is what Pink Elephant pointed out, and how when it's like women are allowed to take credit for their success without thinking anybody else. They can say, I did it by myself, and strong, powerful woman. Men aren't afforded that luxury. Particularly black men aren't afforded that luxury. We can't just say, I don't want to thank nobody. I did it by myself. And technically, if you didn't help me do it, I'm not going to thank you just because, right? And that's what most men defer to, and they do. But, and that's our fault that they're used to that, because we do that. We do it just to make them feel good. We say things, they weren't shooting us in the gym, but we give them credit when they're not. And yet, on the other hand, when women don't do anything and they aren't contributing to the success, they still need credit. And you're supposed to give it to them to make them feel like they're a part of it. Again, but if it's a man and his woman has more success than him, he's just going to drag his feet and just know how I got to suck it up and just deal with it. I guess that's the difference between men and women and the expectations of men and women. So in the film, she wanted credit for it. Now, one thing also in the film that she was mad about, not just to him not thanking her, but she was upset that he didn't pick her to be the main character. She is also a actress, but she admitted in the film that she didn't do a good job on purpose out of fear that he wouldn't choose her anyways. And then there's this scene where she get crazy. She pick up the knife and she wilding out, and he like, well, damn girl, why you ain't do that in your audition? I would have picked you. Right? So the coolness of it was this is his big debut film and all that. He wasn't about to deal with nepotism or favoritism or whatever. Oh, you just picked her because that's your girl. He's like, no, you got to bring it. And she admitted she didn't bring it. And she kind of self-sabotaged because, again, the little scene that she did at the house where she looked like she was going crazy, talking about how she brought up old stuff about cheating on him with his friends and all this other stuff. And she had the knife and all this, and it looked like she's about to spaz out. He's like, girl, why you ain't do that in your audition? Again, her response was she was scared of some other shit. Now, I don't think, again, their relationship is toxic. I think that there are two people who are messed up that need each other. That's just what I see it as. That because a lot of credit was like, oh, they should break up, they shouldn't be together. That was too much. I'm like, no, I think some people might need that. Some people can deal with that level of energy and they get each other so much that might work for them. Again, if that was the everyday thing, a once a week thing, no. But if you, again, at this cabin, you getting everything off your chest, y'all both saying things y'all never said before, you're in a different space, it's a different moment, they got that off. And at the end of the movie, look like they're gonna, I wish they would have left the movie more open-ended where we didn't know what happened. If she did leave, if she didn't, that would have been cooler to give it more of this, well, what happened? Or leave the interpretation up to the audience. But again, my take is if you can survive that type of honesty and brutality from each other, right, and you can make it, then there's nothing y'all can't get through. Again, there was infidelity, there was breaking up, there was him not thanking her in his biggest moment of his life. And that's the thing too, this is his biggest moment of his life, and she's mad that she didn't get attention in it. This thing about the selfishness of that. And I'll say this, if you didn't get the gif, no, I don't think he had to thank her in that moment. Even if he thought her back home on his side or whatever, that's fine. There were some people making arguments that he should have. Like, that's like the focal point. Like, he's wrong for not doing it. I absolutely disagree with that. I don't think he's wrong for not doing it in that moment. In reality, you're at the high of your life. The adrenaline is going. He could have just forgot. Like, real talk. That could happen in that moment. Something like that. You see these speeches that people give when they thanking everybody and all that. It's long, it's drawn out. They forget people. Blah, blah, blah. That could happen. So I'm like, even with that, it's like, damn, let that go. He don't owe you nothing for that situation. Again, you being able to be with him, you being able to walk on a red carpet with him, you being on my side, that should be good enough, in my opinion. But no, women think differently. And I'm reframing it with women because these are the criticisms I'm reading from women. Damn near every single woman who I saw watch this movie was, it's toxic, I can't watch it, it's this, it's that. No, it wasn't. I like that shit. Again, because as a film watcher, we don't get to see this often. We don't see a man get his off as well. And even though he got his off, and I'm not saying that he might not have some traits and some narcissism and all that, which is an overused word in 2020, that which we stop using, those things might be there and might be valid. But even if he wasn't that, they're going to still call him that just because they don't like his delivery. Remember the video I did about it's not what you say but how you say it? That's bull. If you don't like what someone has to say, no matter how nice they say it, you still not going to like that shit. So he had to get off. He had to let her know, like, yo, this is what it is. It's not what you think or not what you were trying to say before. But that's pretty much it. I probably should have watched it again before I did this interview, just to catch up on some of the little things. I think the film was good. I did enjoy it. Dialogue film. If I were to do a film, it would be something like that at first. It would be a lot of debate, dialogue. That scene in Lean On Me when Morgan Freeman was arguing with the HNIC, like, I would want to capture something like that and make it deeper and expand on that. It doesn't have to be a bunch of different scenes and a bunch of different characters and whatnot. It could be a few, it could be a handful, but I like those type of films, and I think they did justice. I wasn't disappointed. I give him his props as an actor. He's not a dud, even though I think Tenet was ass. Didn't make any goddamn sense. The director was trying to do too much. Inception on top of Inception, behind Inception, but it wasn't Inception. But I think he did a good job. I think that they did a good job as well. I think their chemistry was good, despite people crying about the age difference. Again, that's typical Hollywood. He's a director, she's an actress, wannabes, kind of, sort of. Their relationship made sense. I just think on the physical part, looking at Zendaya, like, this wasn't a film that we're going to cast her because we want men to be attracted to the main character, because I'm not. She looked like a 13-year-old girl. Not my thing. But I think that contrast is interesting, though, that some of the women criticize him, saying that's the type of person he would date, yet in the film, that's not who he was dating in real life. She complained as well about him dating women who are more voluptuous and thicker than she. But yeah, that's my review of it. Go check out the actual original, Who's Afraid of Virginia Woolf. Compare and contrast. Which one is better? Which one, you know? The music, the soundtrack was good. The camera angles, the cinematography, all that was A+. I liked it. The old school jams got that vibe in there. I like everything about the movie. Only, again, I don't know who could have played the role better than Zendaya, but I wouldn't have cast her. I just wouldn't. She just looks too young to, not young, but she looks younger than she is supposed to be in the film. She's not giving me 23-year-old vibes in the film, even though she plays her part well and does a good job. I wouldn't have put her in there. If I have any more, or I guess I'll do a part 2, maybe, if I rewatch it again and see what I missed. But yeah, that's the film. A chick crying about not getting credit for what she did not deserve. And that begs to ask the question, how much of your success is your significant other entitled to? How much of your success is someone else entitled to? Do you feel like you have to give them credit even if they didn't do anything about it to get it? Or do you just be a typical guy, goes along, get along, shout out to Kwame Brown, and just make them feel good even though they didn't deserve it, right? Like, that's what we're used to doing. And that's why I think that's the biggest problem, and that's our fault as men, is we let that ish slide. We let them feel good and come about stuff that they had nothing to do with, and they take liberties and want credit for shit they ain't got nothing to do with them, and they feel some type of way and pout like little babies when they don't get that acknowledgement. Again, I have no problem if he would have just said when he got back home and did it, but that wouldn't be good enough for either. She wanted that acknowledgement on the biggest stage, night of his stage and his career. And again, now if they were technically married and husband and wife, okay, that's different. By default, he probably would have had to do that because she's his wife. Just by proximity, she gonna get the credit for everything that he did. It's almost like the dumb shit you hear, like feminists say, the biggest victims of war are the widowed wives. Like, huh? Not the dude who got his leg blown off and his body's smashed to smithereens. Like, not him that sacrificed and actually did it. Yeah, she gets a brunt of that from dealing with that life, but the biggest victims of war are the women who survive and get to go on and marry somebody else that was probably cheating anyways while he was out there doing the tours. Yeah. Alright. I'm out. That's my review. Try to keep it in 15 minutes, but that's not gonna happen, so at least under half an hour. Alright. Just for the people who had an issue with the mac and cheese, there's this article on Vulture. They were saying that this would have never happened. A black woman would have never made this struggle mac and cheese, right? Instead of acknowledging the fact that Zendaya's character is biracial, they didn't tap on it, they didn't talk about it, but clearly she was, but y'all be black girl magic and everything. But if y'all just embrace the one, you know, the duality of who she is and her race, maybe I wouldn't have been tripping. But since y'all saying that she should have never made that struggle mac and cheese on top of the stove in the middle of nowhere, take a look at this. You tell me what you think about food being designated to a demographic.
So once you strain it out, after you get done cleaning it, you just want to fill it back up. All right, we got these seasonings nice and soft. So now we're going to throw our red beans up in here. Now you want to season your beans with some garlic powder. Add some seasoning oil. And I'm going to go ahead and use some Tony's today. We're going to throw a little bit of crab oil in here, just a little bit. Now you want to give it a good stir. This bad boy gonna cook down for about a good 5 hours here. And now we're gonna throw all our meat in this. And now we're just gonna let this cook on low, medium for about 5 hours. You wanna constantly check on it and give it a good stir every like 15. Baby, the meat so tender, it's falling off the bone here. Baby, look at these neck bones. They so tender. Ooh, child. These things been cooking for a good 5 hours here. Look how thick it got. Now we about to make some cornbread and we about to eat, baby. Got that cornbread muffin. Got my red beans. I had a little bit of yellow mustard up in here. Don't knock it till you try it. My people straight from the projects put me on this way, like right after Katrina. Telling you, this the only way I eat my beans here. Ooh, got that neck bone up in there. Look at that meat. Look at that. Boy, just tender here.